In this video, we're going to cover the differences between timelines and plans within Jira. There are two different things that you can do to create timelines within Jira. One is through the plans portion here on the left-hand side. If you go to plans, if you don't have any plans created, you can hit that plus icon, or you can go to view all plans if you have too many created, right? Right now I'm under the NPD demo plan. If you go to plans, these plans in Jira, one, are only available if you have premium or higher in terms of tier of subscription with Jira and Atlassian. But two, they have far more features than the timelines themselves have that come with Jira's free and standard licensing subscription. So if you do not have premium or above, you will not see access to plans on the left-hand side. Here under plans, you can see that we have a couple different views in the top left-hand corner or top right-hand corner. You can see that you can toggle to list view, or you can toggle to timeline view. I prefer timeline view. And here on the right-hand side is view settings. You can color them by status, right? You can color things by epic. You can group by whatever it is you would like to group things by. I choose none. You can choose how you want to link dependencies, right? Do you want badges? Do you want lines? I prefer lines. And dates, you can show a roll-up of dates in the field, timeline sections, or you can show a roll-up of sprints, releases, timelines, and estimates in the field section as well. I'm going to leave both of those checked. Here, you also see something that says warnings. Here's where you can enable or disable different warnings within your project plan, again under this plans dropdown within Jira. Here is the warning center, so configure which warnings you want to see on your plan. Use the filter menu to only show issues with warnings. So issue starts or ends after its due date. You can get a warning notification or symbol for that. You can have the issue scheduled outside of its assigned sprint. You can have a warning for that. You can have the, there's an open issue that has passed its inferred end date. You can have a warning when an open issue has passed its assigned end date. And you can have when a child issue ends after its parent issue. And so there are a number of different scenarios that they outline here where you can enable or disable these warnings. Here you can see that I currently have a timeline built out for just this epic here in this plan, this NPD demo plan that I have going. What I love so much about demo plans is, one, it's easy to just click and drag or adjust, right, these timelines. And here, if you hover over this plus icon, this is where you can choose dependency and add a dependency. So you can say this blocks, right? So let's say product requirements blocks the actual development, right? So let's say this will block this task right here. So it's NPD-4. And now you can see that that is shown as a blocker. You can also show dependencies by clicking, holding, and dragging the end of one column and connecting it to another. So now you can see that that dependency is there and it is linked. So this is how you add that link, right? Now let's just say the project scope portion, it relates to gathering requirements, right? This is where you can add here, and you can choose the link type. If you have different link types enabled, there's not just blocks, you can also enable relates to, and then you can choose what it relates to. So not only does this have fantastic dependency mapping features within the plan, but you have a section here where you can add more fields. So right now you just see the status, but let's say I want to see even more fields than just the status. Let's say I want to see assignee because I'm doing an estimation activity with the people who are going to be working on it present. And let's say I want start dates and I want due dates outlined as well. And perfect. So we have assignee, start date, and due date. Now let's say I also want estimates, right? Because we are going to determine how many days something is going to take for us to complete, or in some cases hours. You can change how the estimates is factored in, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But right now I just wanted to show you that you can add more fields here depending on your specific needs, right? And you can expand or collapse these fields as you see fit. And so what's also nice is you can add filters, right? So if you want to just filter by a certain person or teams, or by a certain project, what's really nice about plans is it allows you to pull in tasks and issues from any project within your Jira instance. And so you can do cross-project dependency mapping, you can do cross-project planning. That's something that is super neat about plans. And what that also enables is for you to create a plan specifically for capacity planning, because you can pull in all of that information from other projects. And that's something that Timelines in Jira, that comes with the free and standard subscription only, does not allow you to do. And so here you can add whatever filters you want to here. And so if you wanted to see something for just one team, you can filter by just one team. What's also neat, right, about this is you can go and you can make some changes and some configurations. So if you look at the top here, there's NPD demo plan. If you hit that ellipses icon in the top left-hand corner here, you can go to plan settings. When you go to plan settings, that estimation field that I had showed earlier, how it was in days, you can select hours or story points. And this is what's really crucial. In one of my last videos, I went over how when you set up a Jira project, it's important to always select a Scrum project, even if you decide to do Kanban later. And that's because if you do not select the Scrum project, the estimation field here and being able to change that or even use an estimation field in your plans is not available. And that's something that is such a massive limitation and is crucial to the success of projects, having been a former project manager for over a decade myself. So that is what's really important, and that's how you can change the estimation, right? You can also choose which date fields to use when visualizing work. So you can use the start date and the due date. There's also something like target end, target start. I recommend just leaving it at start date and due date. There's no need to get crazy with all kinds of different dates out there. You want to keep it as simple as possible to use. That way it's easy to adopt for your users. Here, with inferred dates, you can use sprint or release dates when issues don't have start and end dates. I actually don't like doing that. I just choose none. I don't want things to be altered by sprint dates. I don't want them to be altered by release dates. As a PM, I would want to control those dates, or as a manager managing a project, I would want to be able to control those dates, so I choose none. Dependencies, you can configure how to schedule dependent issues within the plan. You can have them be sequential, which means that the issues must be scheduled one after another, or, and this applies when auto-scheduling issues, or they can be concurrent, which means dependent issues can be scheduled at the same time as one another. And so I usually like concurrent because sometimes things can work in parallel. It really just depends on what you prefer, if you want things to be sequential or concurrent. Keep in mind this also applies when auto-scheduling issues. All right, there are some other plan settings here that you'll see on the left-hand side. I go into much more detail on plans and how to use them for capacity planning and things like that in a Udemy course that I'm going to be releasing. But for now, the main thing that you want to know is right here under scheduling and how to make sure that you update your estimations, your inferred dates, and your dependencies to get you up and running with plans within Jira. So, I am a big proponent of plans. In fact, plans and the features that come with plans is the absolute reason that I upgrade to premium and recommend premium to a lot of my clients. If I If they don't truly have a need for premium and they really just need a simple timeline to be able to share with their customers, then I don't recommend premium. I keep them on standard and I show them what the timeline functions have available to them, which for a lot of companies suffice. And there is a reason that there are those two separate tiers within Jira and those different services and products that are offered. If in fact you do want to share this timeline with an external party, what you can do is you can hit the button, you can copy the link. This doesn't work great in my opinion. So as I was saying, you can hit the share button if you do want to share the timeline. You can share them with people that have access to your Jira instance, so people within your Jira instance and organization in your company. Or if you need to share things externally, I recommend exporting them. I would not recommend exporting the data to a CSV. Instead, I would recommend exporting an image for your timeline view, right? You can select the dates, it generates a preview, and then what you can do is you can actually export that and share that information with your customers along with a status update report on the project so they can see timelines, they can see start dates and due dates. As you can see right now, the fields are hidden, so keep in mind whatever you export is going to be whatever it is that you show. One thing that I do try to keep in mind is I do often want to show status, start date, and due date for those tasks when I export things, but I generally like to hide estimates as well as assignees because I don't always want people reaching out directly to team members rather than coming to a primary point of contact to keep things in the loop. That's how a lot of scope creep happens. That's how a lot of miscommunication, misalignment happens. Making sure that the flow of communication is aligned properly is critical to the success of any project. So before you export that, just make sure that you adjust your fields accordingly. You hit that share and you hit that export button. You go to export that image, right? You select the date range that you want it to be exported for. You wait for that to be generated. And then you can hit export and you can download that file. Yep, so here you can see that now in the preview, you can see the start date and the due date and the status, as well as the entire project timeline. If you need to extend that, you can. So that encompasses the whole view. If you do want to change the view of your timeline, go ahead and hit this little arrow button in the bottom here. It can expand or collapse it. You can look at where you are today. You can look at it in months, weeks, quarters, or years, or you can select a custom range as well. All right, so this is plans within Jira. Again, you access plans by going to the plans dropdown in the left-hand widget here. So here you can see plans, and there are any of your plans that you have, or you can create one directly from here. The other feature that is available to create project timelines and share them with external parties is a timeline within Jira. So you have the plans, and then you have the timeline. The timeline is connected to a board within your project in Jira. It is always tied to a board. And so we go to the Scrum board. You'll see that up here on the top, there's something called timeline. If I go and I select timeline, you'll see that I have this NPD1 prototype. If I expand that, you can see what the timeline looks like. And I do get these error messages for different things here. Just keep in mind that as you can see with this timeline, you really don't have the ability to add more fields here. You just see the status and you can see assignee. But aside from that, you don't really see any additional information. You can change the view from weeks to months to quarters if that is what you want to view. And you can, again, hit this share button in the top right-hand corner, and then you can hit copy link. So again, if you want to share this, you can hit that share button and enter the names of the people within Jira that you want to share it with. Or if you want to export this with an image, you have to hit this ellipsis icon in the top right-hand corner. Go to export, and then you can go to image or CSV. Again, I always recommend image. When you do that, it'll pop up the preview. You can adjust the time frame from which you want to export. You hit export, and it'll save that image and download that image for you so that you can share that timeline and updates with external parties. The only thing to keep in mind, like I said, is it has less functionality than the plans does. But for a lot of companies, just this suffices to be able to just share a timeline at a high level. All right. This is the major difference between timelines and plans. Like I said, timelines is available for all tiers within Jira, but it has less functionality, and it does not allow for cross-project dependency mapping or planning. Whereas plans allows for cross-project dependency mapping and planning, as well as capacity planning, but it only comes with premium and higher subscriptions.